All right, so now we'll go to the last session for this month from Ayya Upekkha. I first started with as I was building up on the Dhamma buds, hoping that by the fourth lesson they are more or less already flowering towards fruition. So let's see what we can do for tonight, and then you can actually see for yourself how far you have gone through your own practice. So tonight's session will be, am I progressing in my practice? Again, it will be sutta based. There'll be some, I'm going to sort of like call on two suttas for us to gauge for ourselves. But before I go into that, I was actually requested by Louise to answer one question. I'm trying to call up that question now. Is about suicide. So let's see what the question is exactly like. Okay, Louise.
We can read the question for you, Ayya.
Okay, right, good.
Yeah. The question is, does it mean suicide when we decide to pull out the life support machine for ourselves? Does it also mean our bad karma will be carried on to our next life?
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, now what happens is, first and foremost, I have to explain that as monastics, all right, it is a very grave offense for monastics to encourage death, or to sing praises to praise death, or to get someone to help another person take their own life. Okay, this is a very grave offense for us. None of us is willing to go through that, because the moment we say that, we are no more a monk or a nun. All right, so that's a parajika for us. Now, for the teachings of suicide, whether we pull the plug or not, first and foremost, if we decide to do it, right? If we decide to do it, and we make our own choice. Okay, so do you call it suicide or not? I'm not too sure. But what we are going through right now, I'm quite sure in Singapore as well as here in Australia, all of us are actually encouraged to make our own directives, so that our family members, or for our Sangha members, our Sangha Dhamma family, don't have to make the decision for us. All right. So frankly speaking, for me, living a life is really living a life through natural conditions, right? Where during the Buddha's time, there was no such thing as putting you on a support system or anything like that, right? So even in the Buddha's time, there were monastics who were committing suicide. All right. Now, it doesn't mean that those who commit suicide may end up in a very woeful state or anything. It depends on the state of mind when you want to take your own life. There is a case where there was a monk who was in very severe pain, and he decided to take his own life. Yeah. So was he born in a bad realm or anything like that? No, he wasn't. So I instead of spending too much time talking about that, I will refer you to a website from the Buddhist Door. You know, in Hong Kong Buddhist Door, if you go to a Hong Kong Buddhist Door and type in what does the Buddha say about committing suicide, there are 2 suttas or 3 suttas in there. Because in a Vinaya rule, it is mentioned about suicide, and there are, I think, 2 suttas that the Buddha talk about one of the monks committing suicide, and he was asked where did they go to? Will they be responsible for it in a wholesome or unwholesome manner? So it all depends on the mental state of mind, right? So the other part of the question is whether we will bring this down to our next life or not. Okay. Now again, I refer to the teachings from our teachers from the Mahayana as well as the Theravada. Important thing for us to remember is that our mind is always inclined towards what we're always thinking of. All right. So even for us who are so-called Buddhists, right? We call ourselves Buddhists. If our mind is always inclined towards something that is very negative, it's very likely that the result will become very negative. If our mind is inclined towards something very positive, then the result is likely to be very positive. So it all depends on the mind's inclination. That's why the Buddha says we have to be very mindful of what kind of thoughts are arising in our mind. And that refers to the 4 right efforts, right? 2 is how to stop the unwholesome thoughts from arising. or to abandon those thoughts that have already arose that are not wholesome. And then the other two is, of course, to give rise to good thoughts, and also to develop on those thoughts that are good to a higher level. So all these things are according to our mind's inclination. Now, of course, suicide or even sometimes you call it into euthanasia and all those things. These are all very hot topics nowadays in the Buddhist circle. Now, is it right or is it wrong to assist in euthanasia, or even to just say pull the plug on ourselves or whatever? Of course, putting the plug on some other family members, of course, that is a different case. But what about pulling the plug on yourself? That is if you're conscious enough to want to make that decision. Okay, so all these things are things that I don't think I'm in a position to advise you. What I can say is that the decision is ours to make. The last thought moments are very important. And I think you also have to discuss with your doctors, your medical team, as to the quality of life. Now, for a person who is going to pull the plug, I'm quite sure if they're conscious enough to know that they want to live or not, I'm quite sure that they are able to, if they are able to make a decision, that means there must still be some quality of life there. All right. But for those family members, or for those of us who are already in a coma, or when the doctor says that even if you recover, you probably will be living like a vegetable and all those things, we probably will depend on our family members, or like for us as monastics, our Dhamma families to make a decision for us, which is not fair to them. So right now, the question is it suicide or not? Okay. Now, for me, as a nun, I've already written to my family members to say that if the doctor says that I'm not going to live a quality life, I already told them I don't want to be on support system. And many of our monastic family members here are opting for the same option. We don't want to leave it to our family members to decide for us. It's not fair. It's very painful for them to make a decision. But for us, what is the quality of life? The quality of life for us as a Sangha member, for me, personally, I'm speaking, for me to live a quality life is how I live my life through natural means, not through the support systems or anything like that. Unless, the doctor said, well, there's a 60-70% of your recovery and all that, you need to go on that. Of course, that's a very wise decision. We need every breath for us to really maintain this body so that we can actually practice to become awakened. We don't just want to waste this human life. Okay, so if you want to go into the detail of what suicide is all about, you can actually go to, and I don't think it's just in the Buddhist door from Hong Kong. You can actually go through any website on the internet and just talk about how Buddha sees suicide and what is a Buddhist perspective on suicide. There are lots of articles written there. Okay, now there may be incidences where we may encounter certain family members or friends who have the tendency to commit suicide. We do come across people who, when they feel unhappy or frustrated, they start to want to cut their wrists. These are very common scenarios that we see every day, not every day. I mean, unless you're in the medical field, but these are things that's very often. People who feel depressed. Why do they feel depressed? Because their desires are not met, or they are in extreme pain or frustration or something like that, or some illnesses that they cannot bear to live with. There are many reasons why they feel suicidal, and many of them, even as a Buddhist, right, they feel that to hurt myself is maybe one of the ways to get out of the suffering. So unfortunately, it happens even for Buddhists, right? So if we do come across people with this kind of tendencies, I would really encourage that don't just ignore them, but refer them to professional help. Okay, we may not be able to help them, but we can refer them to professional help. Okay, now today I just came across another devotee who actually was very much in pain and shock because one of their best friends, who was very young, took his own life. and he was a very nice person, and she was telling us that, you know, he was actually connected with some Buddhist organizations, such a lovely person, so helpful, but all alone. And they do not know why he took his own life. He seemed to be very happy. So a lot of times there are different kind of how to say, reasons why people just suddenly want to take their own life. So if we are able to listen closely enough to conversations from people with this kind of tendencies, sometimes we may be able to pick up the negativity in them, and that's where we have to pay attention. So this is the reason why for us here in Newbury Buddhist Monastery, where the nuns here are going through training, we always make sure that we go through a course on, first and foremost, interpersonal communication skills, and also the other one is to help people who are in difficulty, especially those who are depressed, or those who are suicidal, or anyone who comes to us with a little kind of dissatisfaction in life. So we are all put through all this kind of training, and attentive listening is very important. A lot of times nowadays, people don't have the patience or time to listen to others. And sometimes before we listen to others, our mind is already working on an answer, which is really not fruitful enough for us to pay attention, what we call attentive listening, to a person who is talking to us, okay? So that we can pick up some kind of leading cues for us to understand that this person is not feeling happy about life and all those things. So there are certain kind of tendencies, certain kind of words that they may use, which we can really pick up. All right. So of course, there are some Chinese teachers who told us that those people who have committed suicide in the past life, sometimes they bring it through their life for 7 more rebirths. I have no knowledge of any sutras that is speaking on this kind of topics. I haven't really completed reading the whole of the Tripitaka, but those that I've covered has not touched on this. But I think according to some Mahayana teachers, there is a saying that if a person commits suicide in one lifetime, it's very likely that they may try to attempt it for the next 7 lifetime. I'm not sure how reliable this kind of information is, but again, if you work on the inclination of a person, right, then maybe it makes some sense. But then, of course, our consciousness is always changing, our lifestyle is always changing, our contact with others, our education, and our wisdom is always changing. So hopefully we are able to sort of like abandon this kind of thoughts. But most important thing is that I would advise that whoever is facing difficulties in life, please don't toy with the idea of taking your own life. Okay, please don't do that, because when it comes too often in your mind, you may just make it happen. So please, our mind is so powerful. We can't see it, but it's so powerful. All right. So never toy with the idea that, okay, if I cannot make it in life, I'll just take my own life. No, please don't do that. There's more to life than just taking your own life because of certain things. Okay. So there are many areas that we have to investigate. I'm not sure whether this is a good enough answer for you, because I really want to refer you to the sutras that you can find from Access to Insight, or even to just type in this the Buddhist perspective on suicides and euthanasia and all those things. You can find lots of answers by the what I call reputable scholarly monastics, as well as sutras. Sutras found in, I think is in maybe Digha Nikaya or Majjhima Nikaya, Sanyutta Nikaya. But Vinaya, in the Vinaya, we do have incidences of this. This is the reason why one of the parajika is that monks and nuns should not encourage taking of life, or to seek someone else to help with taking of life, or even to praise the ending of life and all that. Okay, I hope it is good enough for now, and then you can do your own homework. There's lots of information. Okay, thank you. All right, so now we just go on.
I think that's a really good question on the chat.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so somebody asked, is there any intermission between lives when one dies? So it says that he heard the EBT and Mahayana says that when one dies, there is an intermission between lives of 47 days. So is this true?
Okay, now, this is not only in Mahayana, Tibetan is the same. And then in the Theravada, the Buddha speaks about the Peta realm, P-E-T-A. Peta realm is what most of us refer to as the hungry ghost realm, but they are not the frightening kind of spiritual beings that come to harm anybody or anything. It's what you will call the intermittent kind of state. You see, there is a sutta when the Buddha actually speaks to one person. I'm not sure whether it's Janasoni Sutta or something like that. I can't quite recall the sutta number. But this man was asking Lord Buddha, which is a place that our departed loved ones or relatives can receive our dedication of merits. So the Buddha says that there's only one place, and that's called the Peta realm. The Peta realm is when a person passes away from the human realm, and because they have attachments to certain family members or attachments to possessions or properties on that, but they have not done a lot of bad. Okay, so they have not done so much good that they go to heaven immediately. They have not done so much bad that they go down to the lower realms immediately. So they are what they call in Chinese they call it the Zhongying Shen, the Bhadra state. In the Tibetan it's called Bhadra state. So in the Theravada it's called the Beta state. And that is the realm that can actually receive our dedication of merits. And this is the reason why you see a lot of people doing hui xiang to the departed beings and all that by doing all the meritorious deeds. And that's the same with Theravada. The Theravadas, the Buddha has mentioned that, and address people who have passed away, and if they're in the Peta realm, they are waiting for their family members or friends to perform merits on their behalf, because in the Peta state, they don't have the opportunity to really perform merits for themselves. So they depend on family members and friends to perform merits for them. Like even for us, right, our monastics, every day we are doing dedication of merits here for the people who wants to do services for their departed loved ones. Even if they have passed away many years, the children are still doing it for them. So the Buddha has mentioned that it is in that realm that they can receive the dedication of merits done by the family members or friends. So when the Buddha was asked, what if none of my family members or friends are reborn into that realm? The Buddha says that this is quite impossible, but let's just say that if it is possible that you don't have anyone born in that realm, the Buddha said that whatever you are doing through your meritorious actions, you yourself will gain the benefits of doing the wholesome action, the meritorious action. So it is not just in the Mahayana, in the Vajrayana, but it's also in the Theravada. It's called the transitory period before they're reborn into other good states, hopefully. Does that answer your question? Okay, all good? I don't get a response. So what if no one dedicates merits? Well, you see, like for most of us in the monastery here, and also is encouraged in other traditions like Mahayana also, they do encourage, like when we're doing dedication of merits, we always want to include those who has no family members or friends to perform merits on their behalf. Please come and partake in our merit making. You are all included. And we encourage them to make strong determination to be born in the good realm, where of course, when you're in the Peta realm, we hope that you can actually be reborn into the human realm, a good Buddhist family. That's the reason why we read the names aloud, or even for those who has not known to us, we just say that to those who has no family or friends to perform merits on your behalf, we invite you to come and partake in our merit making, and we encourage you to make strong determination to be born in a good family where you can connect with the Holy Triple Gem, and for you to walk the Noble Eightfold Path, and to be guided by Aryang teachers and supported by family members and friends. So at least they know that they are remembered by some people, right? That's why the Metta Sutta that we have chanted, right? Regardless of whether known or unknown, seen or unseen, near or far away, born or to be born. May all beings be well and happy. Right? So this is the thoughts of each of us, the positive thoughts, the compassion that we have for beings that we know may be suffering. Although we may not be able to see them, but we know there are lots of suffering beings around us. And we hope that we can share all our merit making and share all the dedication of merits to them, remembering them, expressing it through our words, that they are all included, and we hope that they can come and partake in our merits. So this is the little thing that we can do for a lot of beings. Okay, it's the same with those aborted fetus, aborted little children, right? A lot of abortions are taking place, and I mean, those without any religious knowledge and all that, they do not know that they're just killing another life. And the person, the little child that has been aborted, they have to go through a lot of pain. Yeah. So all those things we will include. And this is the reason why in the Mahayana, I'm not sure about Tibetan, but I know Mahayana, they have the Ulambana, there's a ceremony, Ulambana, the Qie Fa Hui, the Ulambana, the 7th lunar month, where they dedicate the whole month to doing prayers for the departed beings. Okay, so this is found in the Mahayana, but in the Theravada, every day is a good day to do meritorious actions and meritorious dedication of merits to the departed loved ones. Every day is a good day to do dedication of merits. Around us, we cannot see them, but sometimes we may feel them. And then if there are beings who always come to your dream, or sometimes you may have some kind of encounter with them and all those things, they are coming to us to ask for help, right? So every time we have this kind of situation, just remember them when you do something meritorious. Yeah. So this is the reason why there's a lot of what I call meritorious deeds that you can do to the Sangha. And usually the Buddha has mentioned that there are 7 kinds of offerings that are very meritorious. And the first, of course, is the offerings to the bhikkhus and bhikkhunis led by the Buddha himself. Right? Bhikkhu and Bhikkhuni communities. The second one is when the Buddha is not around, then you offer to the bhikkhus and bhikkhunis Sangha, both Sangha. And then after that, a few of bhikkhus or bhikkhunis, and then after that, bhikkhus or bhikkhunis. Yeah, and it comes down to just from one community or the other community or whatever. That's what the Buddha in his time, when his stepmother, this Mahapajapati Gotami, when she became a nun, she wanted to offer Buddha a robe to the Buddha. For 3 times the Buddha reminded her, Gotami, offer it to the whole Sangha, because if you offer to the whole Sangha, you also offer to me. And the power of the Sangha is much more powerful than a single person, unless the single person is like the Buddha or Arahant or someone in the Holy Stream. And this is the reason why nowadays, that is the wisdom and the foresight of the Buddha. You see, nowadays a lot of people are just following one Sangha member, and they sort of like idolize them and just give them everything, right? Just one person. But the Buddha's wisdom is, don't just pay attention to one person. You support the whole Sangha. 4 full-fledged bhikkhus or 4 full-fledged bhikkhunis make a Sangha. So this is the reason why here in Newbury we have a full-fledged bhikkhu Sangha and a full-fledged bhikkhuni Sangha. Here we have 2 Sanghas here, where people come in to do offerings for us, and they do dedication of merits to their departed loved ones, or even those who are not feeling well, whether it is psychological or whatever, there's this energy matter that is involved. So you just generate all your loving energy to the person, directly to the person. That's why the person who is closest to you, you can visualize them, direct it to them. And this is very important. It is found in the Pittavattu. If you read the Pittavattu, you can see why all this dedication of merits are very important. The Pittavattu is part of the Khuddaka Nikaya, from the Nikayas, the 5 sets of Nikayas. So Pittavattu, P-E-T-A-V-A-T-H-U, you read that one. It can be found online. Nowadays, everything can be found online. The whole Tripitaka is found online. You read the stories of the Pittavattu, and then you can understand why people are doing offerings to the Sangha to dedicate merits to their loved ones. Okay? Is it okay? Oh, good. Dedicate marriage to a non-Buddhist and hope them to join. Oh yeah, Buddhist or non-Buddhist, we include them here. You see, here in Newbury Buddhist Monasteries, we have people from different religious background, from Africa, from even Brahmins from India. We have Indian people coming here. We have Christians coming in here. A lot of Westerners come from Christian backgrounds, but they just found Buddhism to be very practical, very scientific, and very down to earth, something that they can see and follow. Where should we start dedicating marriage if someone doesn't have? What does that have? What is the M for? Can you read out someone? I can't really see the full question.
May I ask where should we start dedicating marriage? What if someone doesn't have much marriage but still wants to dedicate?
Oh, once you have that thought to dedicate marriage, that's your marriage. Everything is my mate. You don't need to have money. You don't have to have a lot of money. You can just do anything within your means to dedicate marriage. Yeah, of course, the Buddha was talking about the Aryang Sangha. If you offer to the Aryang Sanghas, there's a lot of marriage because Aryang Sanghas are supposed to be fields of marriage for everybody. But by doing any good deed to another person, helping another sick person or someone who is in need of help, that is also merit making. But of course, the Buddha has mentioned that offering to the needs of the Aryang Sangha, that is the highest offer you can benefit from. And that's why as Buddhists, they always come and give to the monastery, building monasteries, and not even, I think even in our traditional Chinese belief, building monasteries, building schools, building roads, building bridges, all these charities, hospitals, all that. As long as you are benefiting the masses, yep, that is something which is very meritorious. Yep. How do I spell the intermission state between life? Again, I want to research. Okay, it's called the I think it's Bhadra, Bhadra. I'm not too sure whether it's the correct spelling, Bhadra state. So let me see what is the word in Theravada. I can't quite recall the Pali word right now. There's also a name for it. Oh, Gandhaba. In Pali, it's called Gandhaba state. Bado in Tibetan. Okay. I think it's called Gandhaba in Theravada. And Gandhaba actually is another word for the four heavenly gods above us. Yeah, the nearest heaven. It's called the Gandhaba state. Yeah, Pali word is Gandhaba state. There's a sutta on that also. Okay. All right. So in Chinese, it's called the Zhongying Sen. And in Pali, if you want to do reading on Pitta Batu, it's called Peta, Peta. Okay. Shall we go and see how well we have progressed in our own practice? All right. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. So tonight, I'm saying tonight because I'm already at 10:10 here in Newbury Buddhist Monastery. It's 10 minutes past 10 p.m. here. Okay, so what I want to dwell on is how do you know whether we are progressing in our practice or not? A person who is progressing in practice, you will find that you have more or less abandoned lots of our negative emotions, our habits and all that, and we feel very much at ease everywhere we go, and we probably can fit in anywhere we go to also. And we will be, as the Metta Sutta has described, will be very easy to support. We are not demanding in nature. The whole of the Metta Sutta, it describes a person who is actually on the path, right? One who is good, one who is not one who is not conceited, one who is humble, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud or demanding in nature. And they will never do anything that the wise will later reprove, and wishing in gladness and in safety, may all beings be at ease. So we will probably be able to give protection to other beings, not just human beings, right? As a mother loved their only child. All right. So metta is something that a person who is already on the noble eightfold path will become a very natural characteristics of the practitioner. Okay. So the four Brahma Viharas, okay, the Chinese is called 四无量心, which is compassion, that's called karuna, metta, there's loving kindness, and then mudita, which is altruistic joy, and then upekkha, which is equanimity. Yeah. So how do we know whether we have really progressed well in this area? Now, the easiest way for me to guide myself is I always ask myself, am I easily blown and shaken by the 8 worldly winds? I'm quite sure you all have heard of the 8 worldly winds. Probably some of the teachers have already taught you that, but let us just go through a very quick revision of what the 8 worldly winds are. And of course, here I'm calling up this sutta. If you are able to call up AN Anguttara Nikaya 8.6, is the failings of the world. It's called Loka Vipatti Sutta. Is Choping or Li Hui, do you want to try and call up that sutta? Or shall I just read from my notes? Yep. Right, you got it. Okay. Okay, you got it. So here we go. So monks, these 8 worldly conditions spin after the world, and the world spins after these 8 worldly conditions, which 8: gain, loss, status, disgrace, censure, praise, pleasure, and pain. These are the 8 worldly conditions that spin after the world, and the world spins after these 8 worldly conditions. For an uninstructed run-of-the-mill person, there arise, gain, loss, status, disgrace, censure, praise, pleasure, and pain. For well-instructed disciple of the noble ones, there also arise the same things, okay? So what difference, what distinction, what distinguishing factor is there between the well-instructed disciple of the noble ones and the uninstructed run-of-the-mill person? For us, Lord, the teachings have the Blessed One as their root, their guide, and their arbitrator. It would be good if the Blessed One himself would explicate the meaning of this statement. Having heard it from the Blessed One, the monks will remember it. In that case, monks, listen and pay close attention. I will speak. As you say, Lord, the monks responded. The Blessed One said, gain arises for an uninstructed run-of-the-mill person. He does not reflect. Gain has a reason in me. It is inconstant, stressful, and subject to change. He does not discern it as actually is. Now, for someone to discern it with stress and subject to change and is inconstant, is actually talking about the tilakkhana, okay? Anything that comes from gain. Now, I will just briefly go through that. Anything that comes from gain or loss or pain or happiness, pleasantness, all right? All these 8 worldly conditions, okay? They call it the 8 worldly winds. All these things are all subject to anicca, dukkha, anatta, which is subject to impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and non-self. Okay, that means it's beyond our control. So of course there are 4 sets of good, positive ones. All right, something that we look forward to, which is actually what they call gain and happiness and what they call praise. Okay, so what's the other one? Praise, pleasure. Okay, and then gain and all this. There's 4 sets of passive, 4 what they call 4 sets of negative, 4 positive. Okay, so for these 4 sets of opposing kind of qualities that it happens to us all the time. All the time, every one of us go through it. How do we respond to them? Right? So many of us, I would say, including us, those of us who are still on the path, many of us actually will feel attachments to praise, pleasure, and status and gain, right? And then when it comes to loss and disgrace and censure and pain, we will try to avoid them, or we try to get out of them, right? This is the very natural reaction that most of us have. So if you can go down, the Buddha said, yes, the teaching had the Blessed One as the rhythm. Now, if you can go down, okay. All right. So, okay, stop here. All right. Okay. So for many of us, we will welcome the arisen gain and rebel against the arisen loss, right? So it's the same with the other three pairs. Okay. So what is the difference between a person who is not affected by it, right? The person who is not affected by it is actually a person who is free from welcoming or rebelling against these 8 worldly winds. That is the only difference between the person who is what the Buddha called the well-instructed disciple of the noble ones and the uninstructed run-of-the-mill person. They know that all these are subject to whether it's happiness or pain, whether it's status, loss, gain, disgrace, praise, blame, all the things. All these things are subject to impermanence, right? Even if it's happiness, it is still going to end with unsatisfactoriness, because once we have this happy phenomena happening, it won't last long. When it changes to something that is not pleasant, we will also feel the suffering. So are we easily swayed by these 8 worldly winds or not? Or do you just take it within your stride and say, oh, okay, bad luck, I just happen to have something that is not going my way today, so I'll just see what I can do to get out of the situation according to wisdom and compassion, right? Now, why do people go into depression? Why do people go into frustration? Why do people go into suicidal kind of modes? It's mainly because they are not able to handle the 8 worldly conditions. Mainly they can't. A lot of times they have a lot of high expectation of themselves or of others. And this is the reason why it causes them so much suffering. When we crave for a lot of things, right? Or when we dislike a lot of things and we try to get out of a situation, but sometimes we can't, we really feel the frustration, right? So this is the reason why people feel depressed, frustrated, painful, suffering. And a lot of time it leads to the thoughts of suicide. Or sometimes it's not even thinking of suicide. You may even think of hurting the other person or other people, just to satisfy your own expectation. So if we are learning the path and we still have this kind of feelings, hopefully we are not going through all these feelings, but I'm quite sure that intense feelings may not be there, but we are still very much affected by all this kind of negativity that arises in our mind. So this is the reason why it's very important for us to really look at our minds all the time. What kind of thoughts are arising in our minds when we are faced with these 8 worldly winds? All right. I remember there's this case where a lady came to me and said, Ayya Upekkha, I think I'm enlightened. All right. So I thought, oh, that's good. So, but later on, to continue the conversation, she says that she was actually fighting a court case with the brother for some property and all that. Now, do you think that an enlightened person will do all these things? I mean, personally, I don't think so. Yeah. So sometimes do not overestimate our so-called attainments, right? Sometimes we just taste a little bit of even maybe a little bit of stillness in our meditation. We think we are enlightened. No, we are far from being enlightened. Okay, even when we are in jhanic stages, we may not even be enlightened. Right? Jhanic stages, we may just be blissed out and we don't have vipassana arising. So all these things doesn't lead us to becoming awakened or enlightened. So all these 8 worldly winds, are we still affected? Are we still very badly affected by it? Okay, praise, blame, and all those things. Just ask ourselves that. Then you know how far we have gone. Okay, so this is one set of guidelines for us to understand how successful we have in purifying ourselves. Okay, so the other sutta that I want to refer to is actually the Gautami Sutta, which is actually found for us in the monastic circle. But this is something that is very, very helpful for us to remind ourselves as to whether we have or not walked the path correctly. So if you want to, you can actually, I can't remember the sutta number, but let me see. Can you just type onto, I'm not sure whether it's called Sankita Sutta, Anguttara Nikaya 8.53, AN 8.53. Yeah, correct. This is it. Yeah. Yeah. So this one is actually very important for us who are Bhikkhunis, or those who are training towards Bhikkhunis. This is also very important for those who are trying to be Buddhist practitioners, okay? Whether you're a monk or a nun, male or female laity practicing the Buddhist path, this is very important. I'm not sure whether it's the same version. Okay, I'll read from my notes here because I don't know. Now, I have heard that on one occasion, the Blessed One was staying near Vasali at a gabled hall in the Great Forest. Now, Vasali is where the first Bhikkhunis were ordained. Okay, Vasali. I'm not sure how many of you have already gone to India for pilgrimage. All these places mentioned here, you probably will be covered. Many of the places will be covered when you go on an Indian pilgrimage. Okay, then Mahapajapati Gautami went to the Blessed One, and on arrival, having bowed down to him, stood on one side. As she was standing there, she said to him, "It would be good, Lord, if the Blessed One would teach me the Dhamma in brief, such that having heard the Dhamma from the Blessed One, I might dwell alone, secluded, heedful, ardent, and resolute." Okay, so Mahapajapati, after becoming a nun, was asking Lord Buddha, "Please teach me your Dhamma so that I can really practice and then become awakened." Okay, so the Lord Buddha actually told Gautami these qualities. Gautami, the qualities of which you may know, these qualities lead to passion, not to dispassion, to being fettered, not to being unfettered, to accumulating, not to shedding, to self-aggrandizement, not to modesty, to discontent, not to contentment, to entanglement, not to reclusiveness, to laziness, not to aroused persistence, to being unburdensome, not to being unburdensome. You may categorically hold this is not the Dhamma, this is not the Vinaya, this is not the teacher's instruction. It is very clear, isn't it? If we are really on the... Sorry? Someone is trying to say something? No? I shall continue. Okay? This one that we have just read, it is actually something that the Buddha says, not the Dhamma, not the Vinaya, not the teacher's instruction. Why? Because the Buddha's teaching is always leading us to the next paragraph, okay? The Buddha's teaching is always leading us to this passion, okay? This passion, not to passion. To being unfettered, not to being fettered. Fettered means you are having a lot of defilements, okay? And To shedding, not accumulating. That means you are actually renouncing, not accumulating. All right. To modesty and not self-aggrandizement. This is actually to becoming humble, not to aggrandize yourself or to always praise yourself, sing praises of yourself, and to look down on others and all that. To contentment, not to discontentment. So contentment is a very important aspect of our practice, because without contentment and all these factors mentioned here, without all these things, we will never be able to find peace in our practice, nor to have good meditation. Okay. To reclusiveness, not to entanglement. That means reclusiveness is being secluded at the right time. It's not saying that you cannot talk to people or anything, but not to really get entangled with worldly affairs or to network with a lot of friends and all those things, and always getting yourself engaged with a lot of worldly activities. That is not going to lead us towards enlightenment, but rather to keep us just so busy. That's why it's so important for us to have reclusiveness, okay, to arouse persistence, okay, not to laziness. So that means you have to put in effort, not to become lazy, to being unburdensome and not to being burdensome. That means easy to support, right? All right. So you may hold that this is the Dhamma, this is the Vinaya, this is the teacher's instruction. Okay. So these are the what we call ultimate guidelines for us to refer to. But as a layperson practicing at home, what is the best sutta that we can follow? The sutta that starts from the very basic of being a householder to becoming one who is enlightened. So I'm not sure whether your past teachers have actually discussed the Mangala Sutta with all of you. In Chinese, it's called I think it's called a Ji Xiang Jing, I think. Have you all actually had this kind of discussions? The Mangala Sutta, which is the sutta on the 38 blessings, that is starting from a householder's life, slowly leading towards what you should do, how you should prepare yourself, your duties and responsibilities to yourself, to your family members, to society. Yeah. And then slowly getting into the holy path through going to visit teachers, to seeing holy people, getting connected to teachers who really can show you the path, understanding the Four Noble Truths, and then also having a kind of meditative kind of a lifestyle, right? So all the Mangala Sutta is the best sutta that I always refer to the laity when they come here, especially for those with family commitments, work commitments, and even for those who finish their family commitments, work commitments, but they are too elderly to become monastics. How do they practice? Right? It's not easy to become a monastic because there's lots of work to do. There's lots of things to remember, and you have to be so humble. You have to take instructions, even if you're elderly. If you come in as a trainee, you have to take instructions from the very young one who is already a bhikkhuni. Are you happy to listen to them? Because even the Buddha in the sutta, I think it's Anguttara again, where he mentioned that it's not easy for elderly people to be trained in the Dhamma and Vinaya because of their ego, their habits, and the difficulty of old age. So all these things are there. So for the Mangala Sutta, even if they are elderly and at home, if they have the time and if they are able to find a teacher that they can connect with, and every once in a while go to the monastery or temple to do activities, to learn the suttas, to have sutta discussions and all those things. Even as a householder, you can actually practice. Although it's not very easy, because if you live alone, you probably will be doing a lot of things that you like and not really doing things that you should be doing. That's why in what they call monastic training, we always feel that community living is the best training, because you have to really rub shoulders with people, whether you like them or you don't like them. You just got to let go of your ego, got to let go of your big self, got to be accommodating, got to be humble, got to be grateful and respectful. That's why community living in a monastery is actually something that is very helpful for one to learn how to become compassionate, wise, and pure. So Mangala Sutta, if you really want to learn how to practice well, please go to the Mangala Sutta. Maybe you can get another teacher to explain to you the details of the Mangala Sutta, if no teacher has already touched on that. Okay, so now the other question to ask oneself is, how is our meditation going? How is our meditation going? Are we able to go into stillness during our meditation, or after many years of training, after many years of meditation, we are still having a mind that is very scattered, not unified, not able to sit still? How is our meditation going? So that is another question to ask ourselves. Okay. All right. So I'm not sure whether after all this listening to the various teachers talking about the Dhamma, how many of you actually has given right to the thought of renunciation, renouncing the householder's life? If you are interested, Newbury is one place that you can try, and then we can connect you to Ajahn Brahm and other teachers here. Yep. Newbury is built mainly to train monks and nuns. And that's where the lay people can come here to be supported and to support us too. And then they can find out for themselves whether the renunciance life is suitable for them or not. Okay? So, are you ready to renounce? Or is the householder's life still very precious to you? Of course, if you have householder's duties, you cannot neglect your householder's duties. If you are a father or a mother, right, or if you are a child taking care of your parents or whatever, you have to do your duties. But at the same time, you can still practice, right? Practice from the home is difficult, but it still can be practiced. Practice the holy life. So I still remember that before I became a nun, I was reading all these what they call the sutras that Buddha says that if women become ordained, then the purity of the Dhamma will lose its purity by 500 years. So I was telling myself, oh no, I'm not going to be part of the reason for the deterioration of the purity of the Dhamma. But then later on, when I read other sutras in also the Anguttara Nikaya, where the Buddha says that the decline of the Sangha, the decline of the Dhamma, is not due to so-called women. So we do not know how this woman thing came into the sutta to say that women will be the cause of the decline of the purity of the Dhamma. But the Buddha has mentioned very clearly in other suttas, right, that the decline of the Sangha is due to various factors. The decline of the Dhamma is also due to various factors. All these things can be found in the Anguttara Nikaya. So if the Sangha is not practicing well, of course the Dhamma will not be pure. This is the reason why we have to maintain the purity of the Sangha according to precepts, Vinaya, and then the Dhamma can flourish. If the Sangha is not practicing well, how can we expect the Dhamma to be pure? So that's why it is very important for us to really support the monastics who are doing the what we call Dhamma and Vinaya practices. All right. Now, we shouldn't be going around to discriminate. Okay. Now, Mahayana and Vajrayana, they have their Bodhisattva vows. Right. So unless you understand what they are doing, you cannot just go and condemn that they are not practicing. Right. And Theravada forest monastics may be practicing from differently from Theravada city monastics. We don't want to go around criticizing or condemning. Practice is our personal choice. So what level of practice is our own personal choice. All right. So we shouldn't be condemning or that. As the Buddha has mentioned immediately, you all have been listening to Mahayana teachings and all that. As long as we try to discriminate a mind of duality, we are no more a practitioner, right? Because we have to see things according to causes and conditions, not according to our fault-finding mind. So If we want to know whether we are progressing in our practice or not, just ask oneself, am I very, very inclined towards fault finding? Or, as Ajahn Brahm like to mention about his 2 bad bricks and his 98 good bricks, do we look at the good qualities of people and try to understand why those what I call not very wholesome characteristics are there? Do we condemn them just because they have done something not very pleasant, right? But it doesn't mean that we don't have to discern, right? So that's why Buddhism sometimes it gets us a bit confused. Well, I'm supposed to be practicing compassion, but I'm not supposed to be fault finding. But when I'm too compassionate, sometimes the person who is not very compassionate gives us a lot of trouble. There's a lot of conflicts. There's a lot of disruptions. There's a lot of suffering from one person caused to a group of people. So what can I do? All these things are things that we have to measure each day, right? We have to face. So the other thing is what we try to encourage ourselves here in Newbury Buddhist Monastery is that because we live with communities, we have people coming in to live with us all the time. And then sometimes we see even people who come in as lay guests and all that. Sometimes they just can't get along with one another. So you meet with all these things, whether you're a monk or a nun or a layman, laywoman, you meet with all these things as long as you have a community. Even if you go to a community who is doing charities, even if you go to the Buddhist temple to do activities, all these things are issues that you face every day. As you all know, the kitchen of the Buddhist temple or Buddhist monastery is the best training ground for anyone. The kitchen. Yes, you all will understand why. I want to cut it this way. I want to cook it that way. This must be washed this way. This must be kept that way. The kitchen must be kept this way. The pots must be placed that way. The lids must be placed that way. Everyone who goes into the kitchen have their own way of doing things. And that is the best training grounds for us. Are we able to be more accommodative? Are we able to be obedient? So-called obedient is part of the qualities of a blessing too, to be obedient. Yep. And also to respect the person who is in charge. Right? So all these things are things that we, after learning Dhamma, sometimes find a bit confusing. Now, what am I supposed to do in this kind of situation? So this is where you can see whether we have grown in compassion and wisdom or not. Compassion and wisdom, right? We cannot be one track, someone with a one-track mind. And we shouldn't box people up into certain kind of category because everyone is changing. Okay, so it's up to us to really see for ourselves. How far have I traveled this Noble Eightfold Path? Am I doing it successfully? Am I a better person? Am I a kinder person? More open-hearted? More open-minded? Can I fit in anywhere I go? I don't expect you to go anywhere, but at least, in family, in society, going to the monastery, meeting with your co-practitioners and all that. How am I able to mingle with them? Am I going to do what the Buddha has always mentioned for his disciples, to mingle with each other like milk and water? Or are we like fire and water? Yeah. So all these are questions that we ask ourselves, whether we are making any progress on the path or not. But of course, the final question comes to, are we ready to give up our householder's life? Okay. Now, becoming a monk or nun has to come from right view and right intention. Do not run away from our what I call difficulties in life. So I still remember that before me and my fellow practitioners from the monastery, before we became a nun, before we apply even, our teacher gave us a checklist. Okay, do you have difficulties at home? Are you in debt? Do you have trouble with your children? Do you have trouble with your husband? Do you have difficulty in your workplace? Yeah. Are you having some kind of illnesses or all those things? All the checklists, we have to check. Okay, we have to really truthfully and courageously see whether we really have any difficulties to become a monk or a nun, not running away from our problems. All right. But of course, we know that because we have seen problems in life, we have seen dukkha in life. That's why we feel that the householder's life, according to the Buddha, is what I call crowded and dusty, meaning that you have a lot of obligations, you have a lot of what I call duties and responsibilities. Yeah, and very burdened with lots of what I call commitments and all that. Yeah. So whereas the renunciance life, once you are able to adapt to the renunciance life and really understand the teachings of the Dhamma and Vinaya, then the life is really free and open. Okay, so this is the difference between a householder's life and a monastic life. But of course, the transition period from a lay person to a monastic, it takes about 3 to 5 years. Unless you have been a practitioner before. We have seen, one of our devotees who was here during the COVID times, he was so deva-like. He was really like an angel. He really did everything just to help us inside the building or outside. He would just do anything, and so patient. Never see him angry. Even when somebody accused him wrongly, he doesn't get angry. He would just keep quiet. He's now a monk. Yep. So it's so beautiful to see this kind of people being accepted into the monastery as a renunciant. You just know that they are of a character to be a good monastic. Yeah. So for any of you who are listening in, okay, if you really want to find out for yourself whether you are able to become a monk or a nun, just come and stay with us, for a month or two. You'll be able to find out. Yep. Newbury is open to any one of you who wants to come. You can apply online. As long as we have accommodations, we are able to offer the place to you. So, of course, we are now in the stage of building this retreat center there. So the retreat center there will be more comfortable than what we are having here right now. What we're having here right now are just old buildings. But for the retreat center, once it's ready and if it's open to anyone who wants to come in to find out the possibility of monastic livelihood, we really welcome you to come here. Otherwise, nearer to you will be in Perth, Bodhiana, or Dhammasara for the nuns. For females, Dhammasara, males is Bodhiana. But now we are going into a Vasa 3 months retreat. So probably this from August to October probably is very little chance of you coming over to any of the monasteries because we are going into our Vasa, annual Vasa, 3 months. And most of us will be going into our personal retreat. So we probably won't be able to accept a lot of visitors for the first time. Only those who have been regularly helping us, yes, we will really welcome them to come and practice with us. Yep. So Newbury Buddhist Monastery is a monastery for any one of you to explore the possibility of becoming a renunciant. Okay, can I stop now and open for questions? There are many ways for you to sort of like ask yourself, have I made progress in my path? Now, I think the most important thing is renouncing the householder's life if your conditions are supportive. Okay, don't force it to happen. Don't force anything to happen because whatever you force, it won't happen with joy. It is not going to be very successful. All right? Okay. So I'll just conclude for here. I'll stop here for tonight's session. If there's any questions.
If anyone has any questions, you can unmute and ask.
Yeah, Venerable, I have a question.
Yes, please.
The list of 10 virtues and non-virtues, right? They are, in my understanding and my logical brain, they are only meant for sentient beings who can actually read and who can understand language. They're not meant for sentient beings that are non-human. That means animals, for example.
Exactly.
Is that correct?
Yes. And this is the reason why to be born into the human realm is so precious.
Right.
Yeah.
So if it's only meant for humans and you get reborn as an animal, surely the negative karma that got you into that animal realm will exhaust itself eventually. And
Sure.
then you can look forward to a better life after that. Is that correct?
Hopefully. Yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Because at
Yeah.
one of our classes, the monitors mentioned that the 10 virtues and non-virtues also apply to animals. So I
No,
had a
animal realm is
qualm.
hard. Animal realm is hard to do virtues, but you do see some animals doing some kind of acts to save their human beings or their masters or their owners and all that. There are situations like that. You also see animals in monasteries doing what the monastics are doing. Yeah. So these are probably some of the habits that were very strong in them, but because of certain kind of unwholesome activities, they have fallen into the animal realms.
Okay, thank you, Venerable.
Yeah. So any more questions? If there's no question, then we can do dedication of merits.
Okay, I'll show the slides. Let me just go and try and find the slides. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay. I think
Yeah, you got it. You got it. You have got it. So okay. So as was mentioned before, let's dedicate merits to all beings. Of course, we want to dedication of merits to devas. The devas actually have a lot of blessings themselves, so we just want to be grateful to them for helping us in whatever we're doing. Yep. And of course, to the Buddhas as beings around us. Okay, so Buddhas may be anyone, any being, and Sattas too. Sattas can be any beings from the different realms. Okay, so all sattas is all sentient beings, so we want to include them there. And also to the last part is for our departed loved ones. So right now, let us also include and invite all beings who have no family members or friends to perform merits on their behalf. May we invite you to partake in this merit making that we have just generated. And may we encourage you to make strong determination to be born in a good family, in a good human existence, where you can connect with the Holy Triple Gem, take refuge in the Holy Triple Gem, walk the Noble Eightfold Path, guided by our young teachers, supported by family members, friends, and Kalyana Mitas, and may all beings be well and happy and be at ease. Okay, so now let's all chant together. If you can you can mute, then we can chant together, right? As loudly as you can, because that is really good energy. Akasatta chabunmatta devanaga mahitika punyang tang anumoditva charang rakkantu lokasasanang. Akasatta chabunmatta devanaga mahitika punyang tang anumoditva charang rakkantu lokasasanang. Akasatta chabummatta devanaga mahitika punyang tang anumoditva charang rakkantu mang parang. Itavata jamhehi sampatang punya sampadang sabbe devanumodantu sabba sampati siddhya. Itavata jamhehi sampatang punya sampadang sabbe bhutanumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya ettavata jamhehi sampadang punya sampadang sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya idam me nyatinang hotu sukhita huntu nyatayo idam me nyatinang hotu sukhita huntu nyatayo idam me nyatinang hotu sukhita huntu nyatayo. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Let's pay respects to the Buddha, 3 bows. Okay, first bow. Okay, second bow. Third bow. Okay, and I understand Ayya with 3 bows. First bow.
Bhavatu sabba mangalang rakkantu sabba devata sabba buddha nubhavena sada soti bhavantu te bhavatu sabba mangalang rakkantu sabba devata sabba dhamma nubhavena sada soti bhavantu te bhavatu sabba mangalang rakkantu Kantu sabba devata sabba sangha nubhavena sada soti bhavantu te. Thank you all so much. By the power of the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, may all of you be well and happy and healthy. So please keep on practicing, purify yourself, and hopefully to be awakened soon as possible. And you're all most welcome to come and visit us at Newbury Buddhist Monastery when the opportunity arises. Okay? Is that all for tonight?
Okay, we actually, sorry, I think we do have one last question that just popped up. Do you mind answering?
Okay.
Okay, so I think somebody asked, does chanting help to keep us awake?
Does chanting help us?
Help us awake, sorry, help us awake. I think it means they help us awaken.
Oh, does chanting help us become awakened? No, you can chant until the teacher say 喊到你的喉咙破都没有用. You have to practice. Chanting is important because chanting, especially when we are not already on the holy path, right? Chanting actually helps us to focus. We try to recollect, focus on the teachings of the Buddha. All right. So chanting is not just for chanting. Chanting is actually recollecting the teachings of the Buddha and then putting it into practice. That's why whatever we chant, okay? All right, whatever you chant, Metta chants or Mangala Sutta chants or you chant Tapeto and all that, when you chant the compassionate mantra, what are you practicing? You have to practice compassion to yourself and to other beings. With compassion, and compassion must come with wisdom. Chanting is important. It leads us towards the path, but it's not the end of the whole skillful means of practice. The Noble Eightfold Path is the important thing. Okay, so chanting is important. Chanting is the beginning to help us, to bring us towards the door of Dhamma, right? But you can continue chanting every day, which is good because that is really what I call right speech. Right speech, and you're actually generating very positive energy when you're doing chanting. But you have to chant with mindfulness. Yeah, you have to chant with mindfulness. Many of us, sometimes when we are too busy, we chant with our mouth, but our mind is thinking of some other things. Right? So chanting has to come from the sincerity of the heart and understanding what the chant is all about. And we have to practice the teachings that is depicted in the chants. Yep. Answer your question? Okay. Awakening is letting go of everything, okay? Especially letting go of greed, hatred, delusion. Then you can get awakened. You have to really let go of all those things. So according to the 10 fetters, I think the 10 fetters are the first. When you become a stream enterer, you have to let go of rites and rituals. You have to let go of doubts. you have to let go of the personality view. And then after that, you have to let go of sense desires. You have to let go of ill will. And then later on, you have to let go of what you call wishing to be born in the rupa realm and arupa realm. Then you have to let go of your conceit, your what you call ignorance, and what is the other one? The 10th one. Sometimes things just slip my mind. Rupa, arupa, ignorance, conceit, and there's another one. Oh my goodness, I forgot the last one. Anybody can look it up? Rupa, the 10 fetters. If you can find out, you just look for 10 fetters. Then there are the 10 fetters there. I just can't recall the last one. What is it? Rupa. Sorry. Restlessness. Yes, correct. Yeah, the 10 fetters. We have to get rid of those in order to become awakened. And that is to become arahant. Okay, so if you are in the Mahayana stream, you have to have the perfections to become Buddha. So you have to practice the Bodhisattva path. So it depends on which direction you want to go. You want to become arahant? Yes, you can. You can end your cycle of birth and death, arahant. Okay, but for Mahayana, they want to become Buddha. So that is based on the Bodhisattva ideal. There's more practice to that than anything else. But whatever it is, we have to eradicate all the 10 fetters. Because according to our teachings, according to our Mahayana teachings, arahant is equals to the 8th level of Bodhisattva, the 8th stage, where there's no falling back. 不退转. Yeah? So no matter what it is, we have to get rid of all our defilements first before we want to walk on the Bodhisattva path. That's why it's very important to be more down to earth and practical, to have the basic teachings of the Theravada tradition into us, really try to perfect them, and then you can really go into the Bodhisattva path. Never look down on Theravada teachings. There's no such thing as what they call the 治疗汉. There's no such things. No one can become an arahant if they are selfish. No one. No one. When you are selfish and self-centered, you cannot be enlightened. So there's no such thing as a selfish arahant. No. It depends on how you want to practice. Yes, it's just like for us. For instance, whether you do good or you don't want to do good, it's up to you to make a personal choice. But important thing is what? Not to harm other people, not to cause trouble to other people. Whether you do good or not, right? The most important thing is not to do bad to other people or to yourself. Yeah. So to become enlightened is to let go. So of course, first we let go of all the bad, unwholesome things. But to become really enlightened, you have to let go of even the good things. So it's just that the Noble Eightfold Path is like what they call a raft, right? When you reach the shore of enlightenment, actually whether it's the shore of defilement or the shore of enlightenment, it's not really crossing a river. It's just a snap of a finger, a change of a thought, a mind thought. That's a mental thought moment. That's all. It's not really crossing the river. It's just the change of the mind. It's called crossing over. So when you cross over, when you become enlightened, you don't need the raft anymore. You don't want to carry the raft with you. So you have to let go of the raft when you are over there, when you're enlightened. So first we let go of the unwholesome. And then later on, we even have to let go of the unwholesome. That's why in meditation, it's all about letting go. If you really want to go into a good meditation, you must let go of everything. Right? Then you can go into jhanas. Otherwise, it's impossible to go into a jhana when you're hanging on to something. Yeah, even when you are thinking of things, whether past or future, or just fantasizing or having inner chatters and all those things, it's impossible to go into a jhana. Okay, so all these things we have to learn. Enlightenment is, I would prefer to call it awakening, because if you have already listened to the Tibetan teachers and Mahayana teachers, what does the teaching say? 人之初性本善, right? We are all pure. That's why we're trying. Now, meditation is going into the pure mind, into the non-conceptual mind. What we are using every day is the conceptual mind, very conditioned. Very conditioned. When we are going to meditation, we are trying to reach that non-conceptual mind, where it is so pure and still and bright. It's the same teaching, Theravada or Mahayana. It's the same, going back to that pure state of nature. We are part of nature. It's the same. Yes, everything is about the mind, whether we can let go of what is inside the mind or not. Right? When you're sitting in meditation, whatever is happening external, you're not in external contact. But what is in contact is our mind is keeping on, clinging on to thoughts of past, future, and even what's happening right now. So that clinging mind there is something that we need to let go. Mahayana teaching also goes back to the same thing. Go back to the stillness of the mind. Go back to the stillness of the mind. There's nothing there. So if you have already heard Huinan Faster about what is the body, it's not a tree or anything like that, right? You have heard about all these things. So there's nothing there. 本来无一物. This is the same as Theravada teaching. There's nothing there. It's emptiness, sunyata. It's the same. Okay? Maybe they say that Theravada is not 究竟, okay? But it points to the same path towards sunyata, emptiness. There's nothing there. We must all go back to nature. And what are we doing all this learning for, all this purification for? Is so that we can set our mind towards awakening. Awakening. We have to realize. That's why the teaching of the Buddha, the Four Noble Truths, the final part is what is to be realized has been realized. Yes? So it's about the realization. Okay? The Dhamma, the purity of the Dhamma is already there. Whether there's a Buddha arising or not, the purity of the Dhamma is there. It's just that we need a Buddha to come and explain to us that we are already lost. We are already in dreamland. So now we try to get out from that dream. Okay? So that's the reason why we are learning all these things. So try not to cling on too much. So please do meditate every day. Listen to Dhamma is good. If you are not going to be a Dhamma teacher, 2 suttas is enough for you. Mangala Sutta, Metta Sutta. 2 is enough for you. Because with those two suttas, you go into the Four Noble Truths, you go into the 12 links, Paticca you go into the Tilakkhana, right? And slowly you go into meditation, all these things, you will soon be a very holy person. Yeah. Yeah. But if you want to be a teacher to share Dhamma with, then of course you have to do a lot of reading into the suttas and then try to understand them and also try to practice them. Because if we practice them, whatever we say carries no weight. Anyone can be a Dhamma teacher. Any one of us, any one of you, right? Can be a Dhamma teacher, but what carries weight is our practice. We have to show by example. Otherwise, it carries no weight. Yeah, very important. Yeah. So the truthfulness of the teachings has to be there. Yeah. Before I came in for this discussion, I think you all were playing the Ratana Sutta sung by somebody, I think. Yeah, it's all about truthfulness. By the determination of this truth, may I be well and happy. So truth has to be there, right? So you all started from faith and it's leading all towards awakening. So in between the Noble Eightfold Path, one has to be very truthful. Yeah, all right. So I hope that with tonight's session, you all will continue to practice. And if there's any opportunity, you can go and stay in a forest monastery. If you have not done that yet, the forest monastery's atmosphere, especially when you have the community of monastics living with you, is very different. In Singapore, I don't think there's any such opportunity. But in Australia, there are quite a number. Yep. So in Sri Lanka, Burma, Thailand, there are all these, and Malaysia too. they do have Sabah and all that. They do have all this opportunity. Yeah. As Singaporeans, we are blessed to listen to lots of teachers. A lot of teachers come by Singapore. We listen to a lot of Dhamma. Now we have to find a proper place to practice. But if you are really having a very, if you are blessed with a very quiet place on your own, it doesn't matter, because in Singapore, I was from Singapore before I came to Australia. Yeah, we had good meditation, even in a place like Changi. We were staying at Changi before as a nun. We were staying in Changi. We had good meditation, walking meditation, sitting meditation. You can still practice. All right. And Singapore now has a lot of nature reserves there. You may not be able to sit in meditation there or whatever, because you have lots of mosquitoes and people and all those things. But there's a lot of nature coming into Singapore where you can actually find that quietness and peace there. And to be close to nature, it really helps us. To be close to nature is a very healthy kind of environment for us. Yeah. So I hope that all of you can have the opportunity to go to a forest retreat. Yeah. Yeah. Many of us are going to retreats, but if you can go to a place where it's forestry and you have a community of monks and nuns there to show you the path, yeah, that would be so wonderful. Okay. All right. Is that good enough for tonight? Okay, all the best. Continue to practice your 5 precepts at least and go for the 8 precepts whenever you can. And please practice meditation every day. I'm not sure whether you all have conducted meditation retreats or not, but it is something that is very important for our practice. Okay? All right. Yes?
Ayya, so
Yes.
sorry, I think it's quite late already, but we have like 3 very short questions. Do you want to address the questions?
Okay, sure, why not?
So the first one is chanting part of right concentration? Is chanting considered rites and rituals? And last one is reciting mantras encouraged or not in the Buddha's teachings? I think maybe don't have to answer too long because it's quite late.
No. Chanting, you need some form of concentration. But when we go into meditation, that concentration is not concentrating like focusing. When we talk about right concentration, sama samadhi, it is actually going to 止观. 止 is to stop all thinking, letting go. Okay? So that chanting, you need concentration definitely. Otherwise, you do not know what you're chanting. You may be chanting wrongly, and you may chant without mindfulness. You may not know what you're chanting. And then also the mantra chanting, right? You can actually just do your mantra chanting, because mantra chanting is something that's not fully understood. The words that are not fully understood, but I'm quite sure you know that the gist of the whole chant is for what purpose. Okay, if it can bring you calmness of the mind, okay, if it can bring you focus of the mind, please go ahead do your chants. I started as a layperson with the what they call tapezo. I'm still doing it as a nun, even though I'm in the Theravada road. I do my tapezo almost every day, unless I'm absolutely very busy. Yeah, I'm still doing my tapezo. Everybody knows I come from a Mahayana background. I started with tapezo. Yeah, and I know that to be compassionate like the Guanyin Bodhisattva, I mean, what is Guanyin Bodhisattva? Is encompassing, embodying all compassion with wisdom. Yeah, so why not? Why not be a compassionate and wise person? So the Tapezo, the Great Compassionate Mantra, is similar to the Metta Sutta. It's the same. It's teaching us how to be kind to oneself and to kind to all sentient beings. It's the same with the Metta Sutta. So yeah, so regardless of which direction you're going, whether it's Theravada or Mahayana or Vajrayana, whatever makes you comfortable, whatever makes you feel calm, whatever makes you feel that you are actually feeling peaceful and contented, and you are progressing in your change from the very unwholesome habits to something very wholesome, why not just continue it? Yep. Does that answer your question? Any more questions? I don't mind talking tonight because it's the last session. Yeah, if you have any questions, please bring it up. Yeah, it's okay. We are very used to just talking about Dhamma till midnight and all that. Yeah, when you talk about Dhamma, you wouldn't feel sleepy. Yeah.
Okay, so I think that there is one more short question. So I think somebody asked, does the Arahant realize emptiness too?
Yeah, the emptiness that they realize may not be exactly the same as what the Mahayana are talking about. This is from my understanding, okay? From what I've actually learned from the Sunyata, okay, from Theravada, which is Arahantahud, and the Sunyata from the Bodhisattva. On the surface, it looks that they are actually talking about the same thing. Okay, it looks like they are talking about the same thing, but according to some Chinese teachers, it's still not absolute. Okay, I'm just relying on the answers that some Chinese teachers have mentioned. But according to Theravada, they have understood the meaning of anatta, and they have understood the meaning of sunyata. Okay, so that's why we have to practice ourselves to be arahant, so that we can know through direct knowledge what are the knowledges we have. Only then we can answer you absolutely with a very direct answer. Otherwise, it's just based on teachings. Okay. So I think if you read the Diamond Sutta, yeah, or even if you read Huinan Fa's book on the Sixth Patriarch, you probably can find the difference between the understanding of the absolute sunyata and the difference that is understood by the arahants. Yeah, but they all call it sunyata. They all call it sunyata. For me, right up to this stage of my learning and practice, I find that the Theravada anatta does not touch entirely on sunyata. But once they talk about sunyata, there's a few sutras, I think in the Sanyutta Nikaya, that touch on sunyata, where even Ajahn Brahm always teaches us that there's nothing in there. No, there's nobody in here. We're just mind and matter. There's nothing in there. There's no driver. It's just a process of nature happening. But because we attach ourselves to so-called self, that's why we have a lot of all these differences and all these sufferings arising. But even for Ajahn Brahm, his teachings is there's nothing there, no one in there. Yeah, so I find that it's very similar to the Mahayana teaching of sunyata. There's really no one there. Yeah. So please try to see whether you can find some Mahayana teachers to explain to you deeper. I have to admit that I didn't really go very in depth into the Mahayana training, yeah, before I switched to Theravada because of my love for seclusion, my love for Vinaya, my love for meditation. I couldn't find it in the Mahayana in Singapore, and even when I went to Perth with the Mahayana school, I still couldn't find that direction. That's why I switched to Theravada. And I could find the Theravada, what they call support for my inclination towards strict Vinaya rules and meditation. But I'm not giving up my Mahayana teachings. Whatever is good in my teaching, I still apply it in my daily life. Yeah. So the Buddha has not divided us into Hinayana or Mahayana, Theravada or Vajrayana. The Buddha has never done that. The Buddha has never done that. According to the Chinese teaching, there are 5 periods of the Buddha's teaching, right? Mahayana, they say that the Buddha has taught five periods of teaching. The first period was for the Bodhisattvas, where the Arahants couldn't understand. If you have been listening to your different teachers, you may have come across all this information, right? So there are 5 periods of teaching, right? So when the Arahants couldn't understand what the Buddha was teaching for the Bodhisattvas, right? So then they withdrew. That's why the Buddha has to come again and then teach the Theravada teachings. Yeah. So all these are teachings that are in record in the Mahayana, but not in the Theravada. Yeah. But what is important is whatever we can understand and accept and can be applied into our daily life, just use it. Just use it. Yeah. So Vajrayana and Mahayana, I believe, if I'm not wrong, their focus is really a lot on compassion with wisdom and outreach to the masses. Yeah. You see, like Ajahn Brahm, he's supposed to be Theravada, but the people in Taiwan hail him as a Bodhisattva. He has touched millions of people's life. Yep. So when I was in my training school in the monastery in Taiwan, our dean was also a monk. He used to tell us that in the Mahayana, there are a lot of Theravada practitioners. In the Theravada, there are also many who are Bodhisattvas. You will know. It's just in our form. But what is important is inside our mind. For those who understand Mandarin, see this YouTube on emptiness. Yeah. Yeah. There are lots of talks online, so you have to pick those that are spoken by reputable teachers. Okay, there are many teachers that are reputable, so please pick those teachers and just follow them. Yeah. Okay. And then for me, even as a layperson, when I try to practice the path, I don't want to go to a very high level. I always tell myself, let me go from the very basic. Once I understand the very basic and I know I can understand that, the next step will naturally unfold for me. Yeah. Although this is all theoretical kind of knowledge that we are gathering right now, the practical part has to come and unfold automatically, right? Unconditionally. It just unfolds naturally for us. Once we reach a level, another level presents itself. Once we reach another level presents itself. Okay? But the mind has to be pure. The sincerity of that pure mind or I want to call it pure mind yet. I mean, originally we all have the pure mind. Yeah, but the sincerity of wanting to purify our mind to reach a level of purification, yeah, it has to be very, very consistent. And the doors will open up to us. The doors will open up to us. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Venerable, since you have extended your time, I just want to ask one more question. Is that all right?
Sure.
Yeah. Through these 5 years of learning the Lamrim, I am still not convinced of the supernatural aspects of Buddhism. When I say supernatural, I mean those aspects that cannot be verified scientifically. Things like rebirth and things like the heavenly realms and things that cannot be verified scientifically. However, I find that the essence of Buddhism, which is like the Four Noble Truths, the importance of benefiting all sentient beings, do not need the supernatural claims to be true. I can do away with rebirth and still appreciate the Four Noble Truths. I can do away with the hell realms and the deities to appreciate how benefiting all sentient beings can make this world a better place. So why do I need to appeal to those supernatural claims when I do not need to do that and still appreciate all these beautiful things about Buddhism?
Yeah, you're right, though. Although this is not really, how to say, that wise to ignore rebirth, because you have to understand that the Buddha actually, when he sat under the Bodhi tree and was awakened, he was awakened to his past experiences, his many rebirths before. And he also was awakened to seeing how sentient beings were reborn according to causes and conditions, right? So rebirth is really part of the core teachings of Lord Buddha. you don't have to believe in that, because what you're saying actually does make sense. You actually can understand all the teachings of noble truths and all those things, right? Rebirth has no scientific basis, but actually you may be able to find some by looking at researchers. Maybe if you can look
Yes,
into it.
I have seen Brian Stevenson's and his peers' research on rebirth, but these are just two or three, a handful of studies that were not scientifically demonstrated. That, for example, they didn't have double-blind questionnaires. They didn't have any unbiased questions. They were not very scientific in their basis. So, they were kind of flawed research. So I don't accept those modern researchers.
Yeah.
And because Buddhism is like 2,500 years old, there should be much more to back these things, but there's only two or three.
Yeah. Okay. Now there may be many cases. You are saying that there are just a handful of cases. Actually, there are thousands and thousands of cases of
No,
research.
I'm saying there are a handful of research that are being cited. Yeah.
Yeah.
There may be a lot of episodes condensed in those research papers, but there are only a handful of things, and they were not conducted very scientifically. No double-blind study, for example. The questions were biased, actually. When you look at the questionnaires about that, them asking the children, or did you remember a past life? Oh, yes, I remember this. I was shot in this village. It didn't seem at all scientific in my estimate.
Okay. Have you actually seen those documentaries where the children actually brought their current parents to where they were born before, and
Yes,
also
yes, I've seen the one about the pilot, the little boy who thought he was a World War II pilot, and he fought in World War II, but in
yeah.
1939.
What about the
And
Sri Lankan cases?
I just boil that down to, if a child likes airplanes, that doesn't mean he was reborn. I mean, he could have seen World War II documentaries or movies, or he read it in a comic book, and then he created this fantasy in his mind. And children like to imagine things like that, and maybe that was the one in a few million who got the combination correct.
Well,
it's not scientific at all.
yeah, I don't know.
The better evidence than that.
No, what I've seen are those children who actually, like, for instance, I think you were talking about this pilot who was shot down and all that. I think he was able to remember his squadron. I think which type of plane he was flying. He remembered a lot of facts about the name of him being shot down at that time. There were a lot of facts that were identified when they went through the records of what he said. But that is only one of the cases. I mean, I've actually seen quite a few documentaries on that. Now, let's put those things aside. We used to ask our teachers this same question. How do we believe in rebirth? Okay. Now, so our teacher just asked us one question. It makes a lot of sense. We ask the same questions to people nowadays. And whether you really want to think it's reasonable or not, it's up to you to really accept it or not. Now, our teacher asked us, what did you eat last Sunday?
Okay.
What did you eat last Sunday?
I think I had rice.
Last Sunday. Rice with? Of course, rice is something that is stable, right? Yeah. Well, what did you do last Sunday? Who do you go out with last Sunday? Maybe you can remember that. What did you wear last Sunday? Right? What time do you do this? What time do you do that? Can you remember everything?
No.
No, you can't. So does that mean that it didn't happen?
No.
It happened, right? It's just that you can't remember, right? So it's the same with rebirth also. Now, that's the reason why when you actually meditate, okay? When you actually meditate,
Okay.
yeah. When you meditate and you can really go into good meditation, with insights arising, then you can see your own rebirth.
Again, why is that important? If I can accept the validity of the Four Noble Truths, I can accept all those core pillars of Buddhism that teach us how to live with each other. If I can accept that, why do I need to appeal to this unverifiable supernatural claim?
You don't have to, but what you're saying is, from what I understand, from what you're saying is that you just want to accept all this teaching so that you can actually live harmoniously with one another.
Yeah.
So what about the goal? What about the goal of stopping the cycle of birth and death? It
That's
may
not
not seem
important. That's not important because I don't see the validity of
Right.
that. If I
Right,
die,
exactly.
I die, and I also will not remember anything when I'm dead. When I'm
Yeah.
dead, it's the same as before I was born. I can't remember before I was born. When I die, I can't remember.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it'll be the same destination, right?
It won't be the same destination. I mean, right now, if what you're saying about your acceptance of the Four Noble Truths, the teachings where you have to do wholesome activities and all that, it's very unlikely that you may be reborn into some unwholesome states, right? But right now, for Buddhists, most of us who become Buddhists, our goal is to really end suffering, right? So to end suffering, as you know, the causes of suffering is the 8 causes, right? The first noble truth, right? Yeah. So what is the first cause? Birth.
Mhm.
With birth, okay,
Right.
aging, sickness, death. These four are the causes of suffering. So how
Yeah.
do we stop the causes of these 4 causes of suffering?
Yes, but I can end it when I die. When I die, there's no more birth. If I do not accept the claim of rebirth, when I die, I will be free of birth.
No,
Then
it don't.
when I learn Buddhism, I'm slowly shedding my suffering because I don't feel jealous. I don't feel animosity toward my neighbor. I'm getting all that from learning Buddhism. I
Yeah.
don't have to appeal to the supernatural claims.
Yeah. Okay. You were mentioning just now that when you die, you won't be reborn because you don't believe in it, right?
Right, right.
Right. Now, it doesn't mean that you don't believe in it, it won't happen. That's what one of the disciples of, not disciple, one of the Brahmins, I think it was a clansman or village head or something, who asked Lord Buddha, yeah, that I don't believe that I'll be reborn and all that. So the Buddha said, yes, it's okay. You don't need to believe it. But as long as you are doing good, that's the most important. Why? What if you don't believe it and you're still reborn? At least you're doing something good. And then when you are reborn, at least you're reborn into a good realm. So this is something similar to what I'm hearing from you. Yes, you don't have to really accept the teachings of rebirth and all those things, but at least you accept the teachings of going on the Noble Eightfold Path. Am I right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's the most important. That's the most important thing.
Okay, see, it's not that I don't accept, it's that I'm not convinced, but yes, I understand
Yes.
what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. You're not convinced. I truly agree with you. If you're not convinced, we cannot expect you to accept. Yeah.
Right.
But at least you do understand that the Noble Eightfold Path is something that you wish to follow.
Yes, I always am reminded of the Kalama Sutra when I logically think about these things. You can't really believe you are not convinced. You have to make sure you are convinced of this.
Sure. That was the same with me too. Unless I'm convinced, otherwise I'm not going to accept it.
Right, right.
Yeah. So So it's okay. We can just leave it as it is. The important thing is that you are actually practicing the path, right? So one day when there's something that hits you, then you can start to really question yourself. Now, why is this happening?
Right.
And then you start to explore further, investigate further, because we have to investigate into why
Yes, I'm
things are.
definitely open to
Yeah.
anything changing this idea. Right.
Exactly, exactly. So it's okay. As long as you're following the Eightfold Path, that's the most important thing, okay? All right.
Right. Thank
But,
you.
but at least you have the honesty to tell us, to share with us about how you feel about the teachings of Lord Buddha.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is
because I'm very impressed by Buddhist philosophy and Buddhist tradition, how
Mm,
you don't hide things. That's really impressive. I've studied a lot of religions, and a lot of religions hide their shameful past. And
mm,
I really appreciate this truth aspect
mm.
of Buddhism,
Yeah, yeah, that's
and
beautiful. Yep,
yeah,
yep. Yeah. So yeah, it's okay. You just, as the Buddha says, don't just reject it, just shove it first. Don't just accept it, investigate it first.
right.
Correct? That's the
Yes,
Klama.
I was hoping I could get that aha moment from you today, but I guess I have to still search. Yes.
Because once our mind has that doubt, right? Once our mind has that doubt, you have to meet with someone who is able to sort of like break through your doubt. So,
Right.
for instance, for me, when I actually asked my teacher the same question, how do I know whether I was reborn? So when my teacher actually asked me, what did you eat last Sunday, or what did you do when? I said, no, I can't remember. So he asked me, does it mean that it never happened, that you never ate last Sunday or something? It's just that you don't remember. And it makes a lot of sense to me. So it's just that the other day I went to this drug rehabilitation center. Most of them are Christians, but they are very keen in meditation, right? So there was this same guy who asked me this same question: How do I believe in rebirth? Yeah, there's no way to convince you that there's rebirth, right? That's why I just asked the same question, and he said that, okay, Venerable, I understand you immediately. I know what you're trying to drive at. So he accepted that there was rebirth. It's just that we can't remember. Yeah. So
But if you
despite
study memory biologically, you need to have neurons and pathways connecting your brain to have that memory. So when that is destroyed at your death, you can't reconstruct that.
you're talking about the physical self, there's such a thing called the mental. There's such a thing called the mental elements, the mental factors, which constitute what we call a human being, the body and the mind,
Right,
right?
but the mental is derived from the physical. Without the physical, there can be no mental.
Yes, to a certain point of what I call reason. Yes. Now it's the same. What you're referring to is just like electricity. Without the light, without the bulb, we cannot see electricity. Without the wires to connect to something, we cannot feel electricity until we get shocked or get killed by it. Right? Something that's unseen.
Right.
We need something for it to manifest.
Right. It's
Right?
more like atoms. You need the atoms to have electricity. You need electrons to have electricity. It's
Yeah.
more
So
the substance. You need the substance to see the phenomena. Without
yeah.
the substance, you can't.
So do you believe that there are spirits and ghosts and all that?
No. I do not
You don't?
believe in God, spirits, or ghosts.
Okay, yeah. So okay,
Because
so if,
they can't be verified. You can't verify these things. There's no such verification that is successful.
okay, because there are people who actually have experiences with the unseen.
Right. But
Yeah.
I attribute that to our brains actually. Our
Mm,
brains are fantastic synthesizing machines. They can synthesize smell, they can synthesize sight, they can synthesize a lot of
yeah, that
physical things, our brains by themselves. So
yeah.
if something were to go wrong with our brains, we probably can synthesize these imaginary things. So
Well,
when someone sees a ghost, he could have synthesized the ghost due to his fear, and the fear has jostled his brain so badly that he synthesized it himself.
yeah, this is what we call misperception of things, okay?
Right.
But the thing is that, there are people, I mean, as monks and nuns, we are approached by the people who have experiences, okay, with the unseen.
Right.
All
But they
right.
could have synthesized it themselves from a trauma, for example. They could have
That's
generated themselves.
and that's what your conditioned mind is telling you because of your knowledge. Our conditioned mind is telling us that this could have happened because of this. Now, this is something that is very normal. All right. But according to the religious side of you, it could happen because there are such things as spiritual beings. All right. According to the teachings of religion, there is such a thing called the spiritual realm. Right. So just because we don't believe in it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. All right. So you have been very fortunate that you are. I assume that you have lived a relatively pleasant and peaceful life without too much
yes,
disruptions or conflicts in your life. So you have been living. You have been practicing as a what I call a person, regardless of your religion. We cannot say that only Buddhists are good people. We can find good people in other religions or those without religions. It is a fact. It's not that Buddhists are the only people who are good. It's not true. Any religion or non-religion or non-religious people can be good people. Okay, so just continue to live your life according to your choice, and as you say, just shove those things because it's not enough to convince you. Just shove those things. Important thing is for us to really live a good, harmless life with loving kindness to ourselves and to others.
Right. That's a fantastic thing I've learned from Buddhism.
Yeah.
You give to your neighbor, and everything can sort itself out because everybody becomes happy, and everybody has no resentment, and that makes for harmony, and that's so powerful.
Okay. Now, are you Stephen?
Yes, I'm Stephen. Yeah.
Okay, Stephen. I just want to ask you. I mean, I think the other people are still with us, so I think it makes good communications and discussion. I just want to ask you, how do you really accept the causes mentioned in the first Noble Truth? Now, first they talk about birth, old age,
Right.
sickness, and death. That is the 4 of the 8 causes of suffering. And then not getting what you want,
Right.
living,
That's so obvious. Yeah.
not getting what you want. So living with the unpleasantness, whether with people or with situations, right? And being
Right.
separated from your loved ones or something you like. And then finally to have the body and the mind. Okay, the 5 skandhas. Yeah, that
Yes,
is suffering. Have you found any of these 8 factors that is causing you suffering in your life?
Oh,
Have
yes,
you?
I have seen this happen to me. Before studying Buddhism, I could identify with each of these phenomena. And then when learning Buddhism and learning how to control attitude and control thinking to shed away all these suffering, it's so effective. It's so I do accept these noble truths and do apply them and see that the power of this philosophy.
Okay, now it's really good to listen to what you're saying. I'm quite sure that you're following the practice very well. That's why you're able to sort of like change your life into something of less suffering. So it's a very good realization on your part. Now the other question that I really want to check with you is, do you find that your body is a source of suffering?
Oh, of course, yes. It is the source of maybe 50% of suffering. But if you can condition your mind to forget about the body and focus outwardly to your neighbor, to your fellow sentient beings, even animal, if you can do that, you can forget about yourself. Once you forget about yourself, that body and suffering diminishes so much. And you don't think about it.
Yeah. So can I say that I'm right to assume that you are actually a very healthy person?
I'm fairly healthy, yes.
Yes. All right, Stephen, please treasure what you have now. I think you are actually enjoying the fruits of your so-called good karma. Do you believe in karma? Karma, the fruits of our actions. Stephen? Has he dropped out?
Stephen. Looks like he's still there, but
I
maybe
couldn't hear. Can you say again? I couldn't hear the last few seconds.
Okay. I'm saying that you actually you seem to have a relatively good life and enjoying your good health and all that, right?
Right.
Okay, so whatever it is, just to cut the whole thing short, just continue what you're doing. Okay,
Sure, thank you.
just continue what you're doing because you seem to be on the right path. All right, until a time when you can find impermanence coming to sort of like want your attention,
Nice.
then maybe you can rethink about the whole process of the doubts that you have about the Buddha's teaching.
Sure.
Okay, because
Thank you very much.
the first noble truth is very important for us to identify with so that we can get out of it. You seem to have done that pretty well, and you seem to be quite blessed with a good health and your ability to actually change according to the teachings into something which is of benefit to you and to the people around you. So what we say, probably you are experiencing something of a very good karma from your past actions of goodness. Yeah. So please keep it up. Please keep it up. All right.
I will, yeah, because it's so beneficial, and hope to
Sure,
have to spread
sure.
it to other people as well.
Sure. Beautiful. Yeah. So I'm not sure. All these things, as I say, sometimes there's no conclusion to it. It's up to us to go and find out and to find someone who is able to convince us. I'm still not able to convince you, but I just hope that I can encourage you to really continue on your good path. And hopefully you can actually have more what I call the aha moments. Okay?
Right. Thank you very much.